Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan, and I'm here with another broadcast of the Morlog Morning Digest for you. We're going to hop right into the coronavirus update, but before we do, there's a few things you can do to help the channel grow. That is like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, but most importantly, please share the content. Now, donations can be made at paypal.me/morlogmorningdigest. You'll find a link in the description below. No obligation, but if you can, I'd greatly appreciate it. We're going to jump right into the coronavirus update, and I can't bring myself to use COVID-19 anymore because the World Health Organization has absolutely disgusted me up until this point in how the way they've handled things. Now, an interesting development within inside the World Health Organization is, as soon as this thing reached pandemic levels, the World Health Organization decided to remove the word pandemic from their list of terminology when describing outbreaks. Think about that for a moment. We literally enter a pandemic by definition, and at the same time that happens, the World Health Organization removes the word pandemic from their list of terminology. All right, as the World Health Organization does that, we have a task force set up in the United States to oversee the coronavirus and the outbreak that is inevitable at this point. There's no way around it. It is coming and it is already here. Okay, they put Mike Pence in charge of this, right? And I like that because Mike Pence has a direct line to the people that actually have the power to get things moving, right? Which is the president, obviously. But what this task force is doing, at the same time, they are muzzling all of the doctors inside of the United States that are doing any type of research on this thing. If you want to put out a statement and you're a doctor tied to the federal government, you have to submit your statement to this task force for approval before you are allowed to post it in the media, effectively removing free speech rights. What did China do right before this thing blew up in their face? They silenced everybody that knew anything about it. It's a very, very scary realization to make. The United States took the same exact draconian action that the Chinese took. Our government criticized the Chinese the entire time they did this, but then they follow suit less than a month later. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. Now, mind you, this is all at the same time where we have our first reported case breaking out in the United States, and I guarantee you that there is more than one. The reason I know this is because the guy that contracted this had to have gotten it from somewhere, and he had no contact with anybody that was in China or anybody that was confirmed to have this. On top of that, the United States, like I said the other day, has only tested 500 people total. Actually, less than 500. It's just a nice round number to use. They only have 3 places inside of the entire United States that are capable of testing for this virus. Now, what that means is, even if the local government wanted to trace all of the contacts that this guy has, patient 0, right? They wouldn't be able to test the people that he came into contact with without the CDC's permission, right? And I hate to tell you, the CDC fucked up big time on this one because this guy was in a hospital prior to being transported to the hospital he's in now. He was on droplet quarantine protections. And we all know that this thing has gone airborne based on what we're seeing and the way that this thing is spreading. When he was at this first hospital, the medical staff recognized that he had symptoms of the coronavirus and requested that the CDC do a test. The CDC said no, because he doesn't meet our prerequisites. He didn't travel to China and he hasn't had contact with anybody that's had the virus. We're not testing him. Shortly thereafter, he's transported to a new hospital 4 days later. The CDC then decides to test this guy and he comes back positive for the coronavirus. Meanwhile, he's came in contact with God knows how many people. God knows how many people were at that first hospital. Who did he interact with on the transportation from the first hospital to the second hospital. On top of that, every physician that saw this guy is now in danger of contracting this thing because they didn't have the proper protective equipment on. And this isn't the first time that the United States fucked up on this. There's a whistleblower that just came out about the Diamond Princess fiasco that just happened. We transported all those people back knowing that they had the coronavirus, right? That right there in and of itself is a big deal. You're bringing back people who already have the disease, which means the chances of this thing breaking containment just went through the roof because you're bringing them back. So you should be taking every possible precaution known to man. No. Instead, you put people on that plane to look after these people that not only didn't have the protective gear that they needed, right? Our government didn't supply them with the necessary gear to stay quarantined while interacting with these people. But on top of that, they never received the proper training or protocol training to deal with quarantined people at all. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking right now that this isn't solid, concrete information, it's just rumors. Nope. The guy that whistle blew on this is a head honcho at one of the facilities for the government, the federal government. I believe he works for the Health and Human Services, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the fact that this guy is putting himself out there like this reminds me a lot of the doctor in China, and I don't think we're going to be hearing too much from this whistleblower because he was anonymous, but I give you the credit for saying what needs to be said. I hate to tell you guys, if you haven't taken the time to prepare for this before now, you're pretty SOL, unless you're talking about preparing food-wise. Personal protective equipment, good luck finding it. You're not going to be able to find any masks. I'm telling you that right now. I haven't seen any in stock for the last 2 weeks, and I've been looking for them. Hand sanitizer, even at my local Walgreens, it's gone. Can't find it anywhere. Like, you have to go to these big chain stores like Costco or shit to find that kind of stuff. And this is only with one case being reported on the opposite side of the country. I live on the East Coast. This case was reported in California, and people are starting to go nuts when it comes to supplies on the East Coast. Meanwhile, we have pictures in Romania of supermarkets being wiped completely clean. I'm talking everything off of the shelves. Even the shit that nobody and their mother would ever want to eat is gone. And they only have one confirmed case. Prepare yourselves for this. There is no escaping it. This is going to be a biblical event. I mention that now because I'm going to talk about some other news events that have been going on that, while they may not be directly tied to the coronavirus, it kind of raises an eyebrow that all of this crap is going on at the same time, especially if you're like me and keep up with prophecy at all. Meanwhile, while the coronavirus seems to be breaking out like crazy, no way to contain it, we have events in Saudi Arabia and Iran where not only are they dealing with the coronavirus at the moment, they have some of the biggest swarms of locusts I have ever seen in my entire life, to the point where it looks like the ground is moving, for one. And then when you look up in the sky, these things are eclipsing the sun, all right? This is happening at the same time that we have massive earthquakes in Turkey, right? Massive earthquakes. We have torrential rains and flooding in London and England like we have never fucking seen before. These wildfires in Australia that we just got done with that were raging out of control. All of this is culminating all at once. Now, we may be able to deal with one of these disasters, but if things keep escalating how they have been, how are we ever going to be able to deal with the economic downturn that's going to come, for one? And then once that happens, you have to worry about the societal downfall that follows. Because if it turns into a world of survival of the fittest, there's a lot of people that are not ready for that, okay? People like me, and I'm sure a lot of people that are watching these videos, would actually thrive in that situation because we can think logically. Most of us have practical skills, and even if we don't have practical skills, a lot of us that are able to take in information like this and not let our emotions get the better of us are going to be able to learn the required skills quick enough to be able to adapt. And that's honestly what I want people to start preparing for. Because if I'm right, and I have been so far, you aren't going to be able to get away with this thing. The best you can do at this point is prepare for what's going to happen and prepare for the aftermath on the other side. Okay? We've already been told by Q and that whole anonymous group there, whether you believe what they're talking about or not, as far as the plan and trusting the plan, etc., etc., they straight up told us, be prepared to sustain and take care of yourself for at least a couple weeks, if not a couple months. Why would this warning be put out there over and over and over and over again if it was nonsense? And the reason I'm saying that is because looking at the events that are happening around the world, as I've said a million times, there are no coincidences, and things are just constantly accelerating. It's really all I have for you guys today. I appreciate you guys watching my videos, and I'm going to do as much as I can to stay out ahead of this. Information right now, you can't find it. Like, I can't trust any of these numbers. I'm using my own two eyes and common sense at this point. That's really all we have. God bless you and your families, and I will talk to you soon. Stay prepared. Stay safe.